All right. Hello again, adventurers, and welcome to another exciting episode of D&D Did a Deep Dive, the show where we dive deep into classes, subclasses, and other features of 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons to help you get the most out of your choices. So, today we are going to be covering the final Warlock subclass in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, the Genie Pact. Just as kind of as a side note, this is actually the final subclass that we need to cover in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. So this is the very next episode of the D&D Deep Dive is actually going to be the 99th recorded episode, and the one after that will be the 100th. If you've been watching my channel recently, I put out a video saying I had a poll that I was going to do. Specifically to have people decide what they wanted me to do as far as my 100th episode, and it tied with two different things. One was adding non-D&D bits to D&D, and the other one was fix RPG horror stories. So to just make things easier on me, I'm going to do a two-parter for my 100th episode. Episode 99 is going to be about adding D&D, non-D&D bits to D&D. And then episode 100 is going to be fixing RPG horror stories. So please tune into those. I'm super excited that we've made it to 100 episodes. Like, that's a really big thing for me. I did not think, years ago when I started this, that I would be doing it for, I think I'm going on to the 3 years now. Or that, people would still be watching it and, be excited about it. So thank you to everyone that has done this. Now that that's been said, let's dive into the Genie. First things first, a very quick reminder about how 5th edition class design works. In 5th edition, every class is meant to play very, very differently right from the beginning. In order to do that, they have these things that we call defining features. They are things that make the class play uniquely, and in order for them to count as defining features, they need to show up within the first two levels. For the Warlock, the defining features are Pact magic. And Pact magic is their special way of spellcasting. Instead of every other spellcasting class where you get a certain number of spell slots, like you'll get first level spell slots and second level and third level, all the way up to the ninth level if you're a full caster, or fifth level if you are a half caster. The Warlock gets what's called Pact magic, and they get a significantly smaller number of spell slots. Most other classes will get up to 4 spell slots per level until you get to the really high, like level 8 and level 9. The Warlock at max level only ever has 4 spell slots. However, as the Warlock levels up, so do their spell slots. They start as 2 level 1 spell slots, and they eventually turn into level 2 spell slots, level 3. So it effectively means that whenever a Warlock is casting a spell, they will always be casting it at the highest level possible for that Warlock, going all the way up to level 5. Because they have such fewer spell slots, they actually get their spell slots back on a short rest. So Warlocks are very short rest dependent. In addition to Pact magic, their other defining feature is Eldritch invocations. Eldritch invocations are permanent changes to the Warlock that change how certain spells act. Some of them will do things like let you add your charisma modifier to damage when you fire your Eldritch Blast, or some of them will turn leveled spells and effectively turn them into cantrip, letting you cast them at will, things like that. And others still will just kind of change how the Warlock plays. One of the more popular ones is called the Devil Sight, and it lets the Warlock see in regular and magical the darkness up to, I believe it's 120 feet. Which is something that no other class can do. It's a very, very powerful, useful ability. So those are the two things that kind of define the Warlock. They're very cantrip focused because they have so few spell slots, but the spells that they do cast tend to pack a punch, and their Eldritch Invocations allows you to customize your Warlock really, really well. You can make a very, very interesting, super customizable spellcaster using a Warlock. The other kind of defining feature is their Pact master. When they choose their Pact at level 1, which is when they choose their subclass, that Pact will change how the class is played as well. And that's what we're going to be discussing here. So let's talk about the Genie. Now, the first thing that's kind of unique about the Genie compared to other packs is things like the Fey Pact. The Fey Pact will mention that you form a pact with some sort of like noble Eladrin or some very powerful Feywild being, but it doesn't really define it beyond that. They'll say that it could be this, it could be that, and whatever you choose for your Fey Pact isn't really going to change how the class itself works. It's more just a role-playing kind of flavoring style thing. For the Genie, the type of Genie that you choose as your Pact Master will actually change how the class works and how it plays. It'll actually give you different spells. So the first decision you have to make is what kind of Genie did you form a Pact with? There are 4 different kinds of genies based on the kind of 4 traditional elemental forces. You have the Tao, which is an earth elemental genie. You have the Genie, which is the air version of genie. There's the Ifriti, which is fire, and the Marid, or Marid, I'm not exactly sure on that one, which is a water element. And true to form, the first thing that's going to happen when you choose this is at level 1, you get a couple of features. The first feature, which is the same for just about any spellcasting class, is you get an expanded spell list. For the Warlock, it's a little different than some other ones where you don't always have these spells prepared. They're just added to the Warlock's spell list, and you can learn them if you want. You don't have to learn them. For the expanded spell list for the Warlock, you actually have 2 different spell lists. Most spell lists will give you a grand total of 10 new spells. The Genie expanded spell list actually gives you 11, but we'll talk about that in a second here. 5 of them are the same no matter what Genie you pick. They are Detect Good and Evil, Phantasmal Force, Create Food and Water, Phantasmal Killer, Creation, and then Wish is the last one. We'll talk that in a second, so it's technically 6. But those 6 spells, doesn't matter which Genie or Genie that you choose, you will always have those. For each of the other 5, you actually choose. You actually get different spells based on the Genie that you chose. Like for the Tao, you get things like Spike Growth or Melt into Stone, Wall of Stone. However, with the Ifriti, which is the Fire Spirit, you get Burning Hands, Fireball, Flames Strike. So you can see, even that initial choice with this class is going to change how you play the class. It may even influence your feat choices later on because of the different spells that you get access to. So that in itself is kind of interesting. The other thing that's interesting is generally your expanded spell list will not give you spells beyond like level 5th, 6th. It just doesn't happen. The Genie gives gives the Warlock access to the Wish spell. If you're not aware of what the Wish spell is a ninth level spell. It is the most powerful spell in the game for a number of reasons. The basics of the Wish spell is there are certain things that the Wish spell just does. There's nothing that can stop it. It just happens. Basically, if you cast the Wish spell, you can duplicate the effect of any other spell that's 8th level or lower. You don't need to meet any requirements for the spell. You don't need any components. The spell simply takes effect. So spells that have really costly components and things like that can technically be bypassed if you use a Wish spell. And there's no roll you have to make or anything like that. The Wish spell just works in these instances. There are other instances where the Wish spell will just work. You can create an object of up to 25,000 gold pieces in value that isn't a magic item, and it has some more limitations on like size and things like that. You allow up to 20 creatures you can see to get regain all hit points and all effects on them described in the Greater Restoration spell. So it's basically full hit points, get rid of just about every negative effect you can have. You can grant up to 10 creatures resistance to a damage type you choose. You can grant up to 10 creatures immunity to a single spell or other magical effect for 8 hours. They give an example. You could make yourself and all your companions immune to a lich's life drain attack. So things like that, very, very useful. Or you can undo a single recent event by forcing a reroll of any roll made within the last round. Reality reshapes itself to accommodate the new results. The example they give is a Wish spell could undo an opponent's successful save, a foe's critical hit, or a friend's failed save. And you can force the reroll to be made with advantage or disadvantage, and you can choose whether to use the reroll or the original roll. So that in and of itself is a really powerful spell, but that's not the limitations of the Wish spell. The other thing you can do is literally make a wish, and that's what makes the Wish spell so dangerous. Because what happens is you make a wish, and in the description of you making just a straight up wish, it literally says the GM has great latitude in ruling what occurs in such an instance. The greater the wish, the greater likelihood that something goes wrong. The spell might fail. The effect you desire might only be partially achieved, or you might suffer some unforeseen consequences as a result of how you worded the wish. For example, wishing that a villain were dead might propel you forward in time to a period when the villain is no longer alive, effectively removing you from the game. Similarly, wishing for a legendary magic item or artifact might instantly transport you to the presence of the item's current owner. And that's what makes the wish spell so dangerous. Because again, you literally get the ask to ask the DM for anything. And the DM is specifically told to treat this very be very, very tricky when they grant that. So one of the things that veteran D&D players learn is how to word a wish. Because if you word it poorly, again, I wish that guy was dead. Okay, transports you 2,000 years into the future. He's dead. You asked for him to be dead. He's dead. None of the rest of your friends went with you. But now you exist in a time where he is dead. And because of that, it can break campaigns, especially if you get people that are really clever in how they word it. And again, part of being a good GM, and it does fit with the Warlock's kind of genie theme. Part of being a good GM when dealing with a wish spell is trying to think outside of the box, because giving the players access to a spell that literally gives them anything they want is not fun. It's like turning on the cheat menu. For a laugh every so often, it's nice to be able to go, yeah, I'm just going to, spawn, a rocket launcher here in level 1 and just blow everything up. Yeah, but that gets old really, really quick. And there's no real story you're going to tell when you're super, super overpowered. So, the limiting factor of the wish spell is the fact that it can rebound so badly. And so if you're going to use it, it should be something that you should very, very carefully consider. Now, in addition to that, using the spell to do anything other than replicate an 8th level or lower spell also causes other issues. Each time after you cast the wish spell, each time you cast a spell until you finish a long rest, you take 1d10 necrotic damage per level of that spell. The damage can't be reduced or prevented in any way. In addition, your strength drops to 3 for 2d4 days. And for each of those days you spend resting and doing nothing more than light activity, your remaining recovery time decreases by 2 days. And finally, there is a 33% chance that you are unable to cast the wish spell ever again if you suffer this stress. So there are some massive negative sides to using a wish spell, and that's what makes it such an interesting and a dangerous spell to cast. So the genie gives the warlock access to that. Now, because of how warlocks work, they're not like wizards where they can learn a bunch of different level 9 spells. Warlocks will only ever learn a single level 9 spell. So this simply means that instead of taking a different level 9 spell, they can take the wish spell instead. Now, there's other things about that we'll deal with as we talk about the class further down, but yeah, that makes this a very, very interesting class, to say the least. So let's get going. The other first level of ability you get when you pick the genie is the genie's vessel. You get to choose a magic vessel that grants you a measure of the genie's power. Think Aladdin's lamp kind of thing. Vessel's a tiny object. You can use this as a spellcasting focus for your warlock spells, and you get to decide what the object is, or you can determine it by randomly rolling on the genie's vessel table. The different vessels are kind of obvious. Things like an oil lamp, an urn, a ring with a compartment, a stoppered bottle, a hollow statuette, or an ornate little lantern. They are all things that have to have a space on the inside, and you'll find out in just a second why. You can do, while you're touching the vessel, you can use it in the following ways. You have Bottled Respite, which is as an action you can magically vanish and enter your vessel, which remains in the space you left. The interior of the vessel is an extra-dimensional space in the shape of a 20-foot radius cylinder, 20 feet high, and resembles your vessel. The interior has cushions and low tables. It's comfortable in temperature. While inside, you can hear the area around your vessel as if you were in its space. You can remain in the vessel inside. You can remain inside the vessel up to a number of hours equal to twice your proficiency bonus. You exit it early if you use a bonus action to leave. You die, or if the vessel is destroyed. When you exit the vessel, you peer in the unoccupied space closest to it. Any objects left in the vessel remain there until carried out. And if the vessel is destroyed, every object stored there harmlessly appears in the unoccupied spaces closest to the vessel's former space. Once you enter the vessel, you can't enter again until you finish a little long rest. So it's really, really a little long explanation of you get to use it once per day. You can stay into it a number of hours equal to twice your proficiency bonus. So when you get this at level 1, your proficiency bonus is 2. So you can stay in there for 4 hours. You get a proficiency bonus at level 3. I think at level 5, I want to say. It's around there. So that increases it to 6 hours. Once you get to proficiency bonus of 4, which I believe is late to tier 2. I don't remember off the top of my head. You can stay in there for 8 hours, effectively meaning you can take a long rest inside your vessel. Again, the vessel itself stays outside. So something like a ring with a compartment. If you're traveling around, you can take your ring off. That's what you use as your spellcasting focus. And just place it in the ground, hidden, so that people aren't going to come across it accidentally, or maybe place it up in a tree or something, and be effectively completely safe while you rest. You don't need to make a fire because the temperature is comfortable. It's got cushions and low tables and the things like that. Like the whole thing is just really, really nice. You can store the things in there, and they don't come out unless you destroy it or you bring them out with you. Because it's an extra dimensional space, it doesn't weigh anything. It doesn't say there's any limit to the air or anything in there. So you can store whatever you want in this space and never have to worry about running out of a room carrying things. Like, there's just so many different ways you can use this extra dimensional space. And it's remarkably safe. The other thing you can do with it is called Genie's Wrath. Once during each of your turns, when you hit with an attack roll, you can deal extra damage to the target equal to your proficiency bonus. The type of damage is determined by your patron. The Tao is bludgeoning, thunder damage from the Genie, fire damage from the Fridi, and cold damage from the Mared. But pretty simple there. And then it describes things like the vessel's AC equals your spell save DC, its hit points equals your warlock level plus your proficiency bonus, and it's immune to poison and psychic damage, and you can get it back if you perform a 1-hour ceremony to get a replacement from your patron. And if you do that, the old one is destroyed. So the vessel can be destroyed. It's not an incredibly difficult thing to get destroyed. However, they would have to have a reason to destroy it. I would not say like getting hit with a fireball while you're holding it would cause it to take damage, because otherwise this would be kind of a useless class, because anytime you got hit by an area effect, it would be killing your vessel. So they would need to actively try to hurt your vessel to do it. And again, there's so much you can do with your own personal extra dimensional space. And it's nice to have extra damage, It does limit the extra damage to on each of your turns when you hit with an attack roll. So this isn't something like the rogue sneak attack where you can do it using your reaction and get extra damage, because it's just once per turn, not once on your turn. But yeah, overall, really, really interesting. I really love the Genie's vessel, and it gets better as we go on. So, yeah. At the 6th level, you get Elemental Gift. You begin to take on characteristics of your patron's kind. You now have resistance to a damage type determined by your patron's kind. Again, bludgeoning damage for the Tao, thunder, fire, cold. We've heard it before. In addition, as a bonus action, you can give yourself a flying speed of 30 feet that lasts for 10 minutes, during which you can hover. You can use this bonus action number of times equal to your proficiency bonus. You regain all expended uses. We finish a long rest. So, I've talked before about how powerful a flying spellcaster can be, or any flying ranged class, because depending on how high you fly, you can make it so melee characters simply don't have the ability to attack you, which is really, really useful. You can also put yourself in a position where area attacks in general are not going to hit you, simply because you're effectively on a different plane as the rest of Cartesian plane, not plane of existence. As the rest of the party. So any area spell that focus on you is generally not going to hit your allies, and vice versa. So the ability to fly is super useful. And when you get this, your proficiency bonus is already 3. So you can use this 3 times a day, which is pretty good, and it just gets better and better as you go on. Meaning high-level Genie Warlocks are very rarely going to be on the ground. They're almost always going to be flying, which, again, turns a 2D combat into a 3-dimensional combat and provides for a lot of interesting ways to do cool stuff. So, like that. I like the resistance as well. I think that's always nice. The other thing, there's only one sentence that mentions it, but I think you can kind of lean into this a little bit, where it says you begin to take on characteristics of your patron's kind. That specifically is referring to the resistance to damage. However, I could totally see that being used as a way to say, well, if you're pledged to an Afridi, that maybe your hair takes on kind of a more like fiery appearance, or maybe your eyes kind of change color so they're more kind of reddish orange than they were before. You know, I'm totally fine with the fact that your physical characteristics kind of changing a little bit, almost becoming a little bit Genasi looking. Not full-blown Genasi, because that's a whole different race, and you wouldn't want to take that away from them. But yeah, I think that would be super cool. So at the 10th level, you get the Sanctuary of a Vessel. When you enter your genie's vessel via the bottled respite feature, you can now choose up to 5 willing creatures that you can see within 30 feet of you, and the chosen creatures are drawn to the vessel with you. As a bonus action, you can inject any number of creatures from the vessel, and everyone is ejected if you leave or die, or if the vessel is destroyed. In addition, anyone, including you, who remains within the vessel for at least 10 minutes gains the benefit of finishing a short rest. And anyone can add your proficiency bonus to the number of hit points they regain if they spend any hit dice as part of a short rest that they're there. This is really big. First of all, by the time you hit to the 10th level, you're going to have a +4 proficiency bonus, I believe. I'm actually going to look it up right now, just to be on the safe side, so I'm not talking out of my butt. Yeah, 9th level is when you get 4th. So by the 10, you are to the 10th level. You already have 8 hours in the Sanctuary Vessel. So you can use your Sanctuary Vessel as your place for taking little long rests and have your entire group safe. In addition to that, if you don't want to use it as like your place where you take your little long rest, you can effectively use it to give your party a free 10-minute short rest. Now again, because you're limited to only once per day, you do have to make the choice between, do we want to use it for a quick short rest, or do we want to use it for our long rest to be safe at the end of the night? Both of those have really useful things. Again, but because the short rest only takes 10 minutes, in situations where you normally couldn't take a short rest, you might be able to get away with a short rest there. In addition, if you're in a place where the reason you can't take a short rest is because enemies are trying to find you, hiding in a ring or a bottle or something like that, and putting it behind under a cloth or something like that, could be extremely useful, because if they're looking for a party of 6, they're not going to look for a bottle or a ring. And even if they do, they're probably not going to just go out and destroy it instantly. There's a much better chance that, I keep using the ring because it's the easiest to hide, to be blunt. It's the smallest one. But let's say they do find it. They're not going to be able to tell you're in there, but you will, because you can hear anything out side as if you were in that square. So they could pick it up and think that it's something nice, and they'll pocket it. You effectively can use that to get to places you normally couldn't, simply because they're going to take you there. And then as soon as you want to ambush them, you just eject everybody from it, take them out, pick up your thing again, and you're in a brand new place. And again, just taking to the 10 minutes means you get your short rest. So for Warlocks, that means your spell slots are all back. For Monks, you would get all your key back. For Paladins, you would get your Divine not Divine Intervention. Wow, I feel dumb right now. I can't remember what it's called for Paladins. Channel Divinity, that's what it could be called. Channel Divinity. You would get your Channel Divinity back. Like any class that gets abilities back on a short rest would benefit hugely from that. In addition, a 10-minute heal, whenever you take a short rest, you can burn healing dice to regain your hit dice to regain hit points. With this, they get to add your proficiency bonus to the end, effectively, of their hit dice. So it's not every single hit die that you roll, but it is... they get extra healing. So this could be used as a quick kind of top up in the middle of a dungeon. This could be used to get back things that get back on a short rest. You can use it as your safety long rest maneuver. You can use it to carry stuff that you don't want to lug around with yourself. Like, there's just so much you can use this vessel for. It turns this particular Warlock into such a great party member, because their abilities are going to help literally everybody in the party. There really isn't a single person, there isn't a class combination in the game that cannot benefit in some way from this Sanctuary vessel. So it's just cool. Finally, you get Limited Wish. At 14th level, you entreat your patron to grant you a small wish. As an action, you can speak your desire to your genie's vessel, requesting the effect of one spell that is 6th level or lower and has a casting time of 1 action. Spell can be from any class's spell list. You don't need to meet the requirements for this spell, including costly components. The spell simply takes effect as part of this action. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish 1d4 long rest. So this is a lesser form of that wish spell that we talked about before. It can't do all the stuff that the wish spell does, but this is effectively giving you 1 casting of any a 6th level or lower spell that has a casting time of 1 action. It does mean you can't do things like Raise Dead, but you can do Revivify for free, which can be super useful. It only uses an action, so it's something that can be done in combat. And there's tons of other one action spells that are just useful. Effectively, Limited Wish gives you access to every spell of the game that is 6th level or lower that uses a single action to cast. The number of spells that includes is mind-boggling. It means this Warlock can literally fit into any party makeup, and as long as they have that Limited Wish of available, they can be that clutch play when you really, really need it. You've got, a creature that, is just refusing to die. Every time it gets to 0 hit points, it pops back up. Disintegrate it. You've got a lot of creatures there that you're just not able to deal with. You need some crown control. Use Avard's Black Tentacles to get them. Or maybe you can use mass cure wounds to get everybody up. Like there's just so many different spells you can use that are just incredibly useful. So yeah, just cool. Final thoughts. This is such a cool subclass. It is Warlocks are already kind of the most customizable of these spellcasters. If I was to compare them with another class, Warlocks actually share quite a few similarities with fighters in the customizability aspect, especially if you look at something like a Battle Master of a fighter, where they can take these maneuvers that just kind of change how they play their characters, and then they also have all these feats that will allow them to customize their character more. Well, the Warlock itself fits into that realm as well. With their Eldritch Invocations, they're a highly customizable with their different packs, with their pact boons that you get at the third level. All these things make them a very hyper customizable. So it's a spellcaster. And if you are making kind of a unique, weird spellcaster, going Warlock is generally a good way to go about it, because you can do things with a Warlock that you can't do with any other spellcaster. So in that thing alone, I love them. With the Genie specifically, it adds so much customizability with both the Wish spell and the Limited Wish. They give you access to literally anything, even more so than like a Bard, where they can learn. I think it's 2 spells throughout the course that are from any spell list. Well, the Warlock just gets access. They don't need to learn them. They're not limited to them. They just get access to any 6th level or lower spell that costs us an action. That is massive. They don't have to worry about spell components for that spell if they use a little Limited Wish. That's massive. In addition, the Genie's Vessel is such a cool utility feature. Store whatever you want in there. Use it for sleeping. Use it for resting. Use it for spying. There's just so many different, amazing, wonderful things you can do with that. If I love this as an example simply because a lot of people don't think about it. But let's say you're planning a heist and you need to have someone on the inside. Gifting a very expensive looking oil lamp to someone could be a really good way, especially since the Genie's Vessel is not a magical effect that can be dispelled. So a smart person that's expecting some kind of ambush or expecting to get screwed over might cast Dispel Magic on any item that they get, in an attempt to make sure that curses and things like that don't hurt them. Or maybe they will have runes throughout their house that make anti-magic zones that don't allow magic spells to work. This isn't a magic spell. It is simply an effect of your pact. And because it doesn't list anything specifically about dispel magic or anti-magic fields disrupting it. I would rule, and again, if Crawford contradicts me on this, I'll have to eat some crow. I would conclude you can get past that. So give them, a really, really fancy bottle. They put it inside their vault, and you hop out after everyone's gone, take what you want, and get out. There's just so many useful things you can do with a genie's vessel. It's just awesome. And then elemental gift is really cool as well. Having a bonus action for flying speed is massively useful. There's no two ways about it. Flying spellcasters are awesome. They are mobile to turrets. So everything about this class seems super cool. One of the things that's very, very easy to happen with something like this is it could become very overpowered very, very quickly. But I think the limitations they have here don't make it seem to be too overpowered or anything. I would totally love to have someone that had Genie Pact in one of my campaigns. I think it would be really interesting and really fun as a dungeon master. To just get to see how they interact with the things that I put in front of them. So, yeah, overall, I love this. Anyway, that is all for me today. As always, if you enjoy this, please hit that little like button. It does mean a lot. It actually helps to get these videos to share it a lot more. In addition, hit the subscribe button. I'm putting out 4 videos a week right now, so you don't want to miss any of those. This will get sent directly to your subscription box when YouTube likes it. In addition, hit the notification bell and turn notifications on, so whenever I do things like my last announcement, where I talked about my 100th episode poll, where you guys get to decide what I did for my 100th episode. That stuff comes out randomly. So hit that notification bell, so anytime I put something out like that, you get a little notification, so you don't miss anything that I do. In the comments down below, what is your favorite of the 4 different genies? Thank you for the phone. Of the 4 different genies, do you like the Dao? Do you like the Genie? Do you like the Afridi, or do you like the Madrid? Let me know in the comments down below. Or Marid, sorry. Anyway, again, that is all for me today, and I will see you guys in the next time. All right? Bye-bye.